Good evening, and welcome to the Eagles Nest and the Eagles Corner combined for the month of January. I am Elder Sylvia Yates.
And I am Isaac Yates.
He's the host of the Eagles Corner. What's up, Isaac?
Not much.
So today, we want to come to you tonight and just talk to you about everything that we have going on. You know, COVID is at an all-time high in the world right now, and we just wanted to come on tonight and talk about it from a school perspective and a home perspective and a work perspective. We just want to come on tonight and just talk about how we feel about everything that's going on in the world right now as it relates to trying to live and trying to adjust and have a new normal with COVID. So Isaac, tell me something. How have you seen the effects of COVID as it relates to the youth and being able to be in school and do the things that you enjoy doing in life? How has COVID made a difference in everything that you have experienced?
Well, COVID, it hasn't really did it to the kids. Cause for example, I don't know, but I think one week I had Omicron because I had a horrible headache. I was dizzy, but I heard that when kids get COVID, all they have is like a bad headache or just dizziness and nausea or something like that. But like if an adult get it, it's a whole different story. But I'm talking about kids, so that's the other subject. COVID, it ain't really it has affected us with school because you have teachers in the school get COVID, then make us get COVID. And sometimes you have us kids get COVID in school and we don't even know it because it could be non-symptomatic. What's the word? I forget.
Asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic. I'm sorry.
But I understand that aspect of it. I'm talking about how has COVID affected your daily activities? You know, not so much as the sickness itself, but the daily activities, the things that you enjoy doing, how it has affected you being able to interact with your friends, interact with the the activities that you was able to participate in before COVID came along. How has that changed how you and your friends look at how life is now?
Well, if I was to look at life now, COVID, you gotta wear a mask everywhere you go now. Even though some people don't do it, you gotta wear a mask everywhere you go. Us kids, you already know we do not like wearing masks. If you look at every single kid, you go at least see like if you go to school, you go see at least like half the school with their mask under their nose.
But how does that make you feel seeing some of the kids come to school, don't have the mask on, and you know everything that's going on in the world? How does that make you feel? I mean, does it make you feel some type of way?
It makes me feel like, why are we even coming to school if they're not even gonna wear the mask right? Like, once we come to school, they not even gonna wear the mask right. We might as well go virtual. But then they say they don't want us going virtual because people be skipping class. They be saying their camera broke. They be saying all these excuses just so they want to do their work.
But when they went virtual the first time, now you had a problem. You really couldn't do virtual because of the simple fact you had to have someone. It's almost like you needed that classroom structure in order for you to be able to learn what you needed to learn. Even though you have the computer here and you got someone talking to you, it's not the same as being in the classroom, now is it?
No.
There's a difference in it.
Mm-hmm.
So which one did you think that you prefer more so over the other one?
I prefer more in school because they ask, like, if you don't get it, they can actually walk up to you and show you how to do it and explain it to you. Instead, on a Chromebook, and they gonna always be busy because they try to check emails and all that other stuff. They got other classes to attend to. And when they get done with virtual, 9 times out of 10, they ain't checking their emails. Then you ain't gonna get the extra help you probably need.
So it really was kind of difficult to do virtual as opposed to doing the classroom setting.
Yeah.
So, then, I look at COVID too as it relates to being able to enjoy certain activities that you once enjoyed doing, like going places, being active and being involved, because of the simple fact of the matter that COVID has really changed, everybody's lifestyle. Have you, even in school, have you noticed a difference in how kids act now that COVID is more prevalent? Because now you're not able to hang out. You're not able to be around your friends. Do you think sometimes when kids go to school because they can't hang out and be around other kids like they once were, socialize, different things like that, it's causing a lot of kids to be angry, depressed, or different things like that? How do you think it's causing making kids feel?
Well, I'm gonna say this right now. They make kids feel no way because kids still hang out. Kids do not care about COVID. Well, if you was to go to a hike right now, I bet you'll be a full pack of kids from one school. Kids do not care about COVID. They still hang out, do whatever they gonna do. They be like, they catch COVID, oh well.
So you think that COVID is being over exaggerated from the adults? Because the adults are going
the ones
to the
that have to go
extreme.
through the most pain. I think the adults are the ones that have to go through the most pain because children. I don't think I ever seen that many children die from COVID.
Well, it's not that you're not seeing that many kids die from COVID, but kids are getting COVID, and there have been some kids who have died from COVID. We're just not hearing a lot about it right now. But at the same token, it's something that we have to learn how to navigate through because it's a new normal. A couple of years ago, we wouldn't even never thought that we'd be walking around having to wear a mask or having to be cautious of how we interact with each other, having to be cautious of whether or not I can hug somebody or not because of the simple fact if I get too close to you, I can catch COVID because COVID affects everybody differently. Just because you may get COVID and it doesn't bother you, that bother you, that doesn't mean that the next person who gets it's not going to affect them because it affects everybody differently. I had a young, older guy who came in on my job just the other day, and we was talking about COVID, and his whole family had COVID. But the interesting thing that he said about the situation was, even though all of them had COVID, it affected all of them differently. Nobody had the same symptoms. It didn't affect them in the same way. So that's one thing that since COVID's been out, that I've learned and that I've been able to see, is that it doesn't affect everybody the same. Just because it may not made you that sick, it doesn't mean that the next person is not going to be that sick. And so that's the thing that I think a lot of times that we hear a lot of things about the government and different things like that. But it's not so much that the government is trying to make anybody to do anything. They just trying to have it where everybody's looking out for the next person. Because we don't know how it's going to affect everybody. And they don't know how it's going to affect everybody. They're just trying to do what they think would be best for the majority.
Can I add in something on that?
Yeah.
And then about that, I'm starting to think if government would have went out here and told us about COVID when they knew about it, I'm thinking the world would probably be good right now. But they waited too late. I heard that they waited too late. They started waiting until people started dying from it. Did nobody know what? Then they finally told us what variant was out.
Yeah, because they didn't want to create what was called mass hysteria. Because of the simple fact they was trying to see if they can control it, or they can try to figure out what it was before they alerted the public. But in their response time, that's the thing, they got everybody. It's the response time that it took for them from when COVID first was identified until the time when they said anything about it, and then everybody not being prepared for it. Who would have ever thought that we would be in a time when we were dealing with a pandemic where we have to walk around with a mask on, or we have to had to come up with a vaccine. We couldn't go places. We couldn't do the things that we used to live because a lot of people put their lives on hold. They basically stopped. It's almost like, the day the world stood still, almost like. Because technically the world was shut down. And then now we all trying to have a new normal. Because, like I said, there's death everywhere. People dying left and right. And people are dealing with many different emotions, grief, anger, resentment. Because people that were here today, we sitting here talking to each other today, and then they're gone. Some people feeling like some people's lives were cut short, that their lives were taken too soon because of COVID. And even now, when things started getting back on track, where things seem like it's getting a little better, you still have people who are not taking it serious because it hasn't affected them like it affected someone else. And so, because they don't see the seriousness of it, or they haven't been affected by it seriously, they're not looking at how they can do anything to keep COVID from continually being spread or continuing to affecting anybody else. And so, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know, because this is all. When I first heard about COVID, I was confused. Cause I knew what a virus was, but I did not know a virus could spread that fast, that easily. I thought a virus could only stay in the computer.
You thought a virus could only stay in the computer?
I thought a virus was something that happened in your computer or device. I did not think it could come to real life.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. That's probably what a lot of kids probably was thinking about when they were saying a virus. They were looking at a computer virus or thinking something got in the computer and trying to figure out how is everybody dying from a virus when it's something that's supposed
that's
to be.
That's what I was thinking.
Man, that's a good one. That's a good one, son. That's a good one.
One day, 2 years ago when it happened, I was to come to you one day like, Mama, how is people dying from a computer virus?
Son, I tell you, now that is a good one. I think if that was the case, boy, we should not be in the world of trouble because everybody's on a computer. Look, we got two computers sitting up here, and just think about that. Everybody is plugged into a device in some type of way, whether it's the phones or whether it's the right. So electronics is a big thing, and to think about if a virus is inside your electronics and you can use your electronics. Because if you use your electronics and you got a virus inside your body, whoa, man, no, don't go there, don't go there.
Okay, nah.
So, but the thing about it is that that is still funny to me that you thought that the virus was on. Now that's a good one, son, and I think that's what a lot of people probably thought themselves too. They didn't take it seriously because it's something that just hasn't never happened in our lifetime. True enough, we read about this stuff and we saw this stuff in history books and different stuff like that. But it's just something that no one would have thought would be happening in this time.
It's early, in this century.
Right. So nobody thought that this could be something that can happen. And so when people are not really thinking that this is something, it's almost like sometimes we feel like it's not real. It's like somebody just making this up. Because
all these new names.
Right.
It was the COVID, the Omicron, and I forgot the other
Delta.
name, the Delta.
And now they got the something Omicron.
I'm gonna call it the Sub-Zero.
And so but the thing about it, it's a virus, so it's gonna constantly mutate. It's gonna constantly change. That's the thing about a virus. It doesn't stay the same. It's going to constantly mutate. It's going to constantly change because that's the nature of a virus. And then the thing about it, what people have to realize that a virus is not curable. We can take things to lessen the severity of the symptoms, but ultimately it's left up to your body to fight it off. And if your body is not strong to fight it off, then that's how come a lot of people succumb to the virus. And some of them die. And then some people, even though they get over it, there's something, a lingering effect that they have that goes on in their bodies because it's a virus. And viruses have to take their course. And like I said, it depends on the person. And depends on that person's body as to whether or not they can fight off the virus. And that's why everybody's pushing. I know it's a person's choice to get the vaccine, and I'm not advocating nobody go out and get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine. We're not doing anything like that. We're just talking about how we see how COVID has affected our lives and possibly some other people's lives. But that's the reason why they're trying to get everybody to get vaccinated. No, we don't know what's inside the vaccine. We don't. But also we don't know what the virus is going to do to our bodies either. So it's almost like you got a choice here, whether to get it or whether not to get it. And then, a lot of times, people have their own personal convictions as to why they don't, and that's their choice. That's the thing about it. We have to look at it. If we want to put this into the perspective of the word as well, God gives everybody free will. He gives everybody a choice. And then that's why he tells us to choose life. He said that he came that we may have life and life more abundantly. He said death and life is in the power of the tongue. So when we look at this situation here, even with COVID, we can either choose life or we can choose death. We can either choose to do what we've been asked to do, or we can choose to not do what we've been asked to do. And a lot of times people take it to the screen where they say, well, God will keep me. God will cover me. God's grace and God's mercy is going to protect me.
God ain't go. I ain't if it's ain't like this. I don't know how to put it. This is the best way I know how to put this sentence. But God is not going to protect you if you don't do what he asks.
Correct. So you have to be obedient to the things that God says. And being obedient to what God says sometimes is being obedient to the laws that's put in place in the land. That's why in part of its scripture in the Bible says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar. Sometimes we have to do what we've been instructed to do in order for us to have the protection of God. When we step outside and walk in disobedience, we have come from under the protection of God, because God looks at our obedience. And when we choose to disobey God, we choose not to be under his protection. And so when you choose not to be under his protection, then that means anything that comes at you, God is not, he's not obligated to cover you. Now, sometimes, things happen where, his mercy is extended unto us, but he doesn't have to extend his mercy unto us. And that's why it's a choice. We all have a choice. And so that's the thing that I see that with COVID now, we all have a choice. Mm-hmm. And so we got to ask ourselves that what choice are we going to make? Because life, we are now having to learn how to live a new normal. And so that's something that goes in line with grief. We're all learning how to live a new normal. What that new normal looks like is different from everybody. Everybody's new normal is not the same. Just your new normal is not the same as mine. Because you don't look at COVID the way I look at COVID. You think I go overboard with it.
I sure do.
And so, but I don't think I do enough. But to somebody else, they're gonna look at it and say, well, you go to the extreme with it. But my thing of it is, I'd rather go to the extreme with it. If I get COVID and I don't went to the extreme and did everything that I did to do that I know that I should do, then that's my that's my lot. That's what's for me to do and for me to do and to go through. But if I get it, I know I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I'm at the mercy of God. I'm at the mercy of God to say, okay, God, are you going to extend grace to me to allow me to come through this, even though I didn't do what I knew I was supposed to do? That's the beauty of God's grace, and that's the beauty of God's mercy. But if he chooses not to, then I have nobody to blame but myself. We can't blame God if we get COVID and something happens to us when we didn't do what was put in place for us not to get it. And a lot of people walk around here bad with God as if this was something that God did. And God did not do this. God doesn't put sickness on anybody. God is a loving God. He doesn't just say, oh, today I want to use COVID as a means to get my people's attention. He don't have to do that.
If anything, he taking all the sickness off you.
He takes it off for you. He doesn't allow, he will use it. And the enemy is the one who orchestrates sickness and disease. That's not God. God says that by his stripes we are healed. And so anytime there's sickness or calamity, that's not God. God don't have to use that to get our attention. God don't have to use that for us to come to him. He don't have to use that. He said he drew us with his love. With love and kindness have I drawn you. God draws us with his love. And that's the type of God that we serve. We serve a God who's a loving God, a just God. And he says that he's concerned about everything that concerns us. And so, Isaac, how would you feel if y'all wind up having to go back and having to go to school again virtually? I mean,
I would hate it. Cause it's this one class, it's this geography class. And if we go virtual, I ain't gonna lie to maybe my first year feeling because that geography class is already hard at school.
so there be some things that you already know that if you go virtual, it'll be a hard time for you to say to yourself that you'll be able to learn it enough to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just something to think about, because like I said, we all are having to learn how to do things differently now. And, even in learning how to do things differently, God is still a gracious God. He's still a loving God. And in so many ways, He still prepares us for things if we just take the time to listen.
Mm-hmm.
If we just take the time to tune in to what He's doing, because He does send a warning before destruction.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to ask ourselves, are we paying attention?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody always use that saying, stay woke.
Mm-hmm.
Are we woke?
I'm woke.
You woke?
I'm wide woke.
Your eyes wide open?
Mm-hmm.
Son, you something else. I tell you, but take a moment, Isaac, and just share something from your heart to the kids, who may be dealing with, COVID, missing a loved one or feeling like because they're in the house and can't go nowhere. How would you talk to a kid?
This is what I'm going to speak to y'all about. Just because I want to speak to y'all about being in the house. Let me tell you this. Just because your mama don't let you go nowhere don't mean she don't want you going nowhere. It's a million times I had to go through this. A million times I thought that, but now I know. Because one time I went to the party. Something happened. It's a good thing I left before it happened, but something happened split second I left. Like 5 minutes later, boom, shoot out at the party. Parents trying to save you. They not. It ain't because they want you to go, but like they know some parties just not it. I'm gonna say that if your parents let you go, you better be thankful. It don't matter what party. If your parents let you go to a party, you better be thankful. Because I know me, yeah, I go to parties and stuff, but my mama know when a certain party is gonna be like wrong, something like that. So if your parents tell you can't go to something, just go like anything. If you can't go out, just say okay. No, not only say okay, say yes, ma'am. Just go ahead about your business. And you never know. She may change your mind because you've been polite. Cause I ain't even gonna lie. When mama say I can't go, sometimes I do catch attitude. But just if they tell you no, just say yes, ma'am. Go to your room.
Well, I was trying to get him to talk about COVID from a perspective of a kid. He started talking to you about going out to parties and stuff,
I mean,
because that lets you know where his mind is. He wants to get out the house. He wants to go to parties and he wants to do certain things. That lets me know where he's at as it relates to being in the house. And, and for me as well as adult, it's not always that easy just to be at the house or not being able to go and do the things that you love to do. But even in doing those things that you love to do, we have to take precautions. And in taking precautions, sometimes we have to look out for the next person and to not be in a place of selfishness where we're only thinking about ourselves and how it affects us, because COVID affects everybody. And if everybody was take the time to just think about how it affects the next person, then I think things can get to some place of where people can kind of deal with what's going on. Because we're in a place now that we have a new normal. And that's something that everybody has to adjust to at some point in time. And we just wanted to come and just sit down and have a little talk. The Eagles Nest and the Eagles Corner combined this month.
This is a great duo.
The dynamic duo, man.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to come and just sit and talk to you all in the Eagles Nest. And I put him in his corner.
Wow.
But we just wanted to come on and just spend a little time and just talk about the issues at hand that we're facing with today. And, from an adult perspective and then from a child perspective. And I know for myself that, I may have been to a point where I'm overly cautious when it comes to dealing with COVID, because I do work in the healthcare profession, and we see a lot of things that take place, and and the things that take place sometimes it wears heavy on your heart because you see the death, you see the grief, you see how some people are lonely, you see a lot of different things that can wear on you as a person. And so, I'm thankful that God has allowed me to be in the healthcare profession. When people do come in and have to deal with certain things, we're in a position to comfort people and to let people know that even though this is here, you're not in this alone. And so that's what I, want to come on. We want to come on tonight and just share. You're not alone. Even though things are happening the way they're happening, we're not alone, because God promised that He'll never leave us nor forsake us, because He's as close as the mention of His name. And so when you're feeling overwhelmed with everything that's going on, just remember God is just as close as the mention of His name. And so we just want you to know that God loves you, God is concerned about you, and God cares for you. And even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, know that God is still on the throne, and God knows what He's doing. And so we have to get in a place where we trust Him and know that He's God and He's sovereign. So on tonight, we just wanted to, just like I said, just take a moment and just sit down and have a conversation. And from, I think Isaac did a good job talking about how he felt about COVID, even though sometimes he got into the conversation, he didn't really truly understand what I was asking him. But in how to say, all in all, he still showed and he still expressed how he feels as a youth and how he's having to deal with the effects of COVID. So COVID is just not affecting adults; it's affecting the youth, and so it affects everyone on every caliber. There's no gender, there's no racial lines. COVID is just COVID with everybody. So on tonight, I want to thank you for joining us in the Eagles Nest and in the Eagles Corner combined. You may be in it, but you're coming out soon. And we are young, but we have a vision. So until the next time, until next month, we just want to tell you we love you, and we hope that something was said to be of encouragement for you tonight. So, bye. So, I can't be that like you understand.
Hey.